this grip thing is going to work.
Okay, so there was Iron Core, like a company that I believe it's Taylor Hobson's has been involved in out of Texas, kind of private. We were at the Destination Dallas, like the famous gym, the gas, the Better Bodies gym with all the Olympians there north of Dallas and Allen, Texas. And they had like a little preacher curl machine, right? And it had these large wheel bearings, these large, I guess they're called single thin section bearings. And it had it as like in these little hoops on the arm, and they had the grips in. And what they did is they cut a section of knurling and they inserted it across and welded it so you could grip it. Whoa. But they were like super small, like my hand could barely fit in it.
Yeah.
They like would squeeze into the inside of the bearing. And then the whole thing was not really well engineered. It was like they had a concept and kind of threw it on. So the whole arm was like, I was doing like 10 pounds. It was fucking heavy. So like Mel could barely run it. And then like there was this like, couple that looks like they were new to the gym.
Yeah.
Went over to the machine after us, and then like they couldn't even use it. So I was like, okay, this is not really practical. So I actually designed and had these made. So they're incredibly dynamic. This is probably one of the smoothest bearings you'll ever see for something that size.
Dude, this is amazing because we use bearings in rollerblades, like in skateboards. I've never seen one this size.
No.
I've never seen one this size.
That's more conventional to your like skateboard and like roller bearings.
Almost.
Those are standard like press shaft bearings that you'd see in like bushings and regular machinery.
Yeah.
So like a tie rod and like this is just stuck in.
So you and I met years and years ago.
Yes, you did.
We met. I saw your gym on Instagram.
Yeah, right at the very beginning.
I was super like intimidated. I was like, oh, a private gym. Like, I wonder if they're gonna let me come work out there. I wonder if I'm cool enough to.
But were you like at TG and stuff?
Well, TG was open, so I was driving down there. This is back in the COVID days.
Yeah,
the gyms weren't open.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was driving 30 minutes each way in the morning, and then you're right down the street from me.
Right.
And I was like, there was a couple things like, oh, the aesthetic there is perfect. It's like, it's
the lights are like what?
Yeah, the lights. It has like that like weight room feel to it, not like some commercial gym with dentist lights everywhere and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember showing up and like, this is the coolest place in the world, and your shop's right there.
Yeah, I was welding on the other side of the wall.
Yeah. And I was just like, dude, this is so amazing. And so you're on your third location now.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
And we're talking about other locations.
That was this morning I was up, and I just got the text from our broker, Jeremy Rush, out in San Antonio, and they finally, the owner of the property we're looking at, 28,000 square feet with easement as well, just agreed to all of our final comments on the contract, and I'm flying out Monday to sign and get the deposit to open escrow and get ready to go.
You're doing the deal, and this all came about as just kind of like a love child, like wanting to have a place to train whenever else was shut down.
Invention through necessity, like as you know, like welder by trade. I do construction work, things like that, and then we're both gym goers, like like bodybuilding, like staying in shape, all those things, and my education background's in fitness, and so it was just like seemed very normal. Like I was like, oh well. There are no gyms open right now. I guess I'll make one.
Dude, that's an Adam Steele thing, right? Like Adam Steele, when there's no other gyms open, opens a fucking gym.
Yeah.
That turns out to be like the best gym ever, to where there's a nationwide demand for it, and blows the doors off and has a wait list to get in. Like,
yeah.
I don't know many other people. Actually, I don't know anybody that was frustrated with the gyms in COVID and created a successful brand like this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that, because I really admire that about you. And
thank you so much. Yeah.
Dude, I think about it all the time, and I love your gym, and I love you for giving me a place to work out during COVID, after COVID, all that.
And I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
And I'm I guess on my side of it, like I always make this comment. It keeps recurring, like oh, it was like this. It started as a joke. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, because people it's very humbling and moving, hearing like your story and everyone's and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for that, like if it wasn't, it's like, okay, I'm putting in time and passion and work for something that I'm like, oh, well, fuck it, I'll do it myself. You know what I mean? And so I started taking it seriously and like putting just like countless nights and hours and building machines and things like that. And but like it was great. It's just like, well, that's a really expensive machine.
I'll build it. Now I'm gonna make it better.
I can do that. And so yeah, like with that, like, you know, taking it seriously was the point when it started like mattering to people.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? When you have like a small culmination of your work, like building a car and the first time you hear it fire up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, a painting when you finally turn the easel around and people witness it. You know, things like that. Like when it starts to take effect and it's just like, okay, now like that stone I threw into the water, knowing what I'm trying to accomplish, where I want it to land, and then finally seeing the ripple effect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's really interesting because I don't have this in my professional background at all, but you have it very clearly. And you build, like your ideas become tangible. You can show up there and see it, feel it, touch it. Like,
yeah.
And so that's very cool that you turned around the easel and here's the best gin in the county. Like,
trying, definitely. And that, it was super neat, but like, seeing people, like, the response, I think, is what then now went from, oh, it's a passion project. I mean, it still is, obviously, to where it's like, now it's become, like, my responsibility.
Yeah, dude, this is your calling.
Yeah, like, it's like, okay, now I've created something, oh, I guess I'm kind of good at it. I feel like the culture and the nature of the business and how it should be for fitness is now moving in a direction that, like, is the correct way, if you will, or a correct way. That's working, clearly, and so now it's like, all right, this engine needs to drive forward.
Right.
You know, this train needs to keep hauling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And not just for yourself, but for everybody else.
Yeah, like, over 500 people, like, you know, it's important. It's like, oh, the lights need to stay on. Like,
right.
You know, not only that, but like, where else can we go?
We're counting on you, bro.
Yeah.
The world needs. I know it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's when it went from like, oh, this is kind of a fun joke to like, oh.
Like, oh shit, I'm gonna sign another.
It'd be like, oh, it worked.
Wait, hold on, I need more square footage.
That's where it's like nonstop, just like gone. Like even here, like we're talking about like getting ready to build out San Antonio, and we're looking around and like, what else can we fit in this room?
Yeah.
And we've got 12,000 square feet. I'm like, this is not enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's comfortable, it's great, but in my mind, it can always be better.
Okay, I'm curious because in my mind, top tier machines, I never have to wait. I can hit everything. Like I can be in and out. It's all here. I have areas where I can do Olympic lifting. I can do bodybuilding. I can get down with some heavy strength training. There's cardio sections.
Right.
There's the wellness room, the closed room. Like, you have a grass pad, bro. What else could you put in here? What?
Oh, you can always expand. Like, obviously, like a lot of gyms like have pools. I don't think it's super necessary because we have an ocean right here, and not so much like the cost over liability. I think for like a basic fitness center, you know, with the community resources and things like that, I don't feel like having a pool is necessary.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's silly that there's a Mission Beach Fit Athletic that has a massive pool 40 feet from the water. Like I'm just like I just look, I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. But we can always expand. Like we have now a large pro bodybuilding crowd with competitors.
Yeah.
We have a large powerlifting community that have grown in our location.
I see
so
that, yeah.
you know, getting a little bit more specialized equipment, expanding the training modalities and technologies that we can offer.
Yeah.
Thus, more space.
So what you talking kilo plates?
Actually, we've ordered 2 sets of the new Mayhems. We spent about $7,400. They should be here next month.
You hear that, powerlifters? Your excuses are over.
Yeah,
You gotta show up and use the kilo plates.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of them. Like I think it's 4 each plate, and then we got 2 sets. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have 8 of the 20 kilos or whatever it is that they come in. Like, yeah, I'm not a professional powerlifter. I have no idea. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, like I kind of like came up on like a strength and powerlifting program. Like that's
right.
That's where I started getting serious in lifting, but I never bothered. I still don't bother to do the conversion from pounds to kilos. Like I'm American.
Yeah,
I
know it's like 2.2 through industry, but like
sure.
I'm not over here like
I don't care, dude.
Yeah,
Pounds are number one.
It's
Kilos,
heavy, it's heavy.
secondary.
That's Sasha. Okay. He owns this building and all of the buildings down the street, all the way downtown.
Oh, no, okay, kidding.
Yeah. So he's part
On this street.
and many others actually. So he is one of the two main partners of the Sequanian LLC, and they essentially are a large development investment capital group as well as lending firm that started with USB or UBC, I think, the large elite equity bank.
Yeah.
And so they control about, I want to say it's about 400 million liquid capital on a 4.4 billion development portfolio just inside San Diego. And that's just here. So yeah.
So that guy's like a major player.
Yeah, he is. They actually brought this the city council from Los Angeles working on their new entire downtown redevelopment plan.
Oh God, that guy is plugged in.
He's plugged in. One of their small investment capital people that's involved. So they have many investors that they manage huge amounts of money. I think over total it's almost 400 billion. Yeah, because it's not just here. It's LA, it's West Coast, it's Israel.
And so they bought all the Opportunity Zone commercial.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They bought all the Opportunity Zone commercial. He's been heavily investing in the Barrio Logan area, doing a lot of the.
Dude, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like, oh, you should sell me this building as soon as you can. He's like, we're actually looking to develop it downtown. Eventually, that's where where the traffic is going.
Dude,
so
it's pushing out.
Yeah, their plan is that there would be a high rise here, that the first or second floor would be all of the warehouse.
Okay.
Kind of like how Fitz built in, to the gym downtown. How it's in that high rise, but it's the first and second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So he's hoping that's their long-term plan. If we don't end up finding our own home location that we can operate.
Yeah, I always say that about Barrio Logan and the Barrio, just this area in general. That's the place to buy because you hedge a long-term purchase against any market depreciation with the fact, and I know it's a controversial word, but it's true for what's happening, is that this area is gentrifying.
But at the same time, people that need to understand what gentrification is, okay? Let's just be super clear. It is not throwing people out of their homes. That is not gentrification. The definition is remodel and revamping of a decrepit and run down, so clearly needing to be renovated space that is purchased and essentially absolutely, what do they call it when something's run down?
Dilapidated?
Dilapidated, but it's essentially ready to be knocked down. So when you gentrify something, you're taking something that can't be fixed and you're fixing it.
Right.
You're coming in and investing money to make it, one, safe, two, a healthy living environment, and three, rentable and usable versus slumlords, people that have passed and have been let go and handed down property-wise. Gentrification is not a demon, it is progress.
Oh, no, I tend to agree with you, but I'm also consciously aware of how, some people feel about how the word's been demonized.
Oh, I absolutely know how the word, how essentially the ill-educated, self-serving, victimizing culture looks at it.
It's amazing. The victim culture is amazing, bro. I'm reading. Did you hear about Nathan Fletcher?
Yes.
This is local.
Oh my God! Sasha sent me the article last night.
Yeah. Okay. So Nathan Fletcher checks himself into rehab. I'm like, okay, scandal on the way.
Right.
Turns out he's cheating on his wife with somebody that's a subordinate at the county.
Oof.
And then ends up getting her fired for whatever reason. Or, maybe he didn't. I don't have all the facts. But the bottom line is he was pursuing this woman. She ends up getting fired. However story you want to believe, those are the facts. And so Nathan comes out and starts playing victim. He's like,
he's from here.
I have all this trauma. I have a drinking
PTSD
problem from the trauma. I need to take care of this. And I'm like, bro,
that guy's such a piece of shit.
Dude, just own up to it. Just be straight with
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's interesting to follow, so we're gonna see where it's gonna go.
So real quick, before we get too ahead of ourselves, since you gave me this wild introduction,
Yeah.
who are you and why are you here, Mr. Rubber Cannon?
I'm Rob Cunningham. I've been seeing. I'm originally from Sac. I moved down when I was 18 years old. I had $300 in a car. I was going to college. I was going to JC, and then my dad passed. I was in a startup company doing sales, and then so I transitioned into real estate at the age of 19. So I'm a well-versed, experienced real estate agent. And for the past couple of years, I've kind of come into the fitness space a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have an online like mindset, fitness, and nutrition company as well.
Yeah, and you're doing pretty well, as we know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean real estate. So real estate's like my core. I'm so invested in this, in this like this changing market. This dynamic is what I've been waiting for the past decade. So I'm like ready, all in on real estate right now. But I get a lot out of the mindset training and helping people understand what I did in order to get myself in shape, drop the excess weight, and how it changed literally everything in my life. It changed the trajectory of my life. It brought, I like to joke around, like me getting in shape, my wife's the biggest beneficiary of it.
Of course, your family, both. Your wife and your child.
Absolutely, and because it's not like, dude, it's not just those disciplines of training, tracking what you're doing, sticking to it, like those transmutate into every other area of your life.
Of course, yeah.
When you're doing the work in the fitness realm,
yeah,
and you can't, there's no excuses, right? Like it's because the results are cut and dry. And so when you get used to handling that workload, not having excuses, you're going to take that workload into other areas of your life, whether it be keeping the house clean, whether it be doing your taxes on time, because you've learned the details of tracking your macros. Mm-hmm. So now tracking your expenses isn't going to be that big of a deal. You're getting up and going to the gym in the morning before your responsibilities come. You're going to come home and you're not going to turn your head to the dishes. So vis-a-vis, I have a happier life because of the benefits that really sticking to getting in shape. I've always lifted weights. I've lifted weights since I was like 13 years old.
Yeah. So you say like just that natural pattern of building healthy habits and fitness being a perfect outlet and or podium of doing that and building that up to the point to where, then everything else kind of like just keeping that pattern. You have that momentum in the day. You come in, we see you always really early, and then you just have that great momentum throughout the day to tackle everything.
Yeah. You put the win in the front of the day. I walk in the office. I'm the only dickhead in the office who was squatting 300 pounds before I showed up.
That's awesome.
And so I have those wins as I start the day. So I've already done the hard stuff. So when I encounter a professional challenge, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
I've already done the hard thing. And
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's true. And dude, it changed everything for me. So I've always been a lifter, and I thought I was in shape, bro. I was strong, I could run, I could do this stuff, but dude, I had like 30 extra pounds I was carrying around on me.
Oh wow.
And it was in COVID that I just snapped, bro. I lost my shit. I was like, you know what? Everyone's fucking staying home, getting fat, doing this and doing that. I'm going out in the fucking world. Later, babe, you're not gonna see me. I'm knocking doors, I'm selling houses, I'm gonna lose the weight, I'm gonna get in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
And so like that's just the contrarian in me. Like I always am
kind of the rebel to the norm.
Exactly. Which I know you have that running in your blood too.
Yeah. Definitely the Death Star, this guy. But and I think that's huge. And and a good example is that not only that, but like you created this level of success through healthy habits and just wanting to be on your game, wanting to be aggressive and hungry. And like to the point where, like, an example, you just helped one of our other members, Ben Ellie, just got his home. And he's super pumped. He was telling me about it.
Dude, I'm so pumped for Ben. Dude, they do not make men like Ben anymore.
No, they don't.
He is a whole man. He's a real man. He has no filter. He'll tell you what you think, and what he thinks is usually right.
Yeah. And he is a John Wayne of our generation.
He really is. He's such an asset. Like every word that dude writes or posts, I read every second, every bit of it, because
Like put his face on a t-shirt and write that John Wayne part.
dude, I'm serious. I have so much respect and admiration for that guy, and I was so honored to work with him.
Yeah.
On that, like to be selected to represent him in that level of a transaction, like, was a complete honor of mine.
And you know, him looking to you and like, you know, the trust factor, you know, and all that. Because like you said, that's buying a home at any age. That's no small feat. Your first home's a big deal.
Dude, it's a big deal. Yeah. His wife is a savage negotiator.
Yes,
like,
she is.
Dude, she came in and pushed the envelope. Like, I'm always down to push the envelope. They're like, so how do you want to come in at this? I gave a proposal, like, all right, we're going to push the envelope like this. And she goes, how about we put just like inches it a little bit further?
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm training. She's hardcore. She's like, let's just take their kids.
She's like ready for a back and forth and all that. Like, we just got in and like, oh, it was good.
Nice, perfect.
So yeah.
And successful. Worked out. So I love that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
That's a huge win. Like, that's cool, you know? And like, good times. Ben is hands down one of my better friends, absolutely. One of my best friends.
Yeah.
I talk to that guy all the time.
Dude, he does something that I love so much that nobody else in the world does.
Tell me, I love it.
I think I may have told you, but for the sake of the pod, like Ben will call if I'm not available. He'll leave a message and goes, "Hey Rob, it's Ben. Don't call me back," and then he'll leave the message.
But anyway, so I was thinking about this thing.
Yeah, he starts the message with "Don't call me back," and like because I'm so used to being responsive, right?
Yeah.
And so like the first time he did that, I'm like, I'm calling back. I always call back.
Yeah.
And so I called back and just like side button.
He's usually like
he's busy.
He's a busy guy. Like so he's for the I guess context. Ben is a retired Navy SEAL who's done many things from leading and becoming a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He got listed IPO, and then sold with that group, and then now he's into defense contracting, sales of aerospace and engineering.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he's just like all over the place. You know what I mean? He's I believe the top 1% in his field. Like easy. He's one of those that like can literally talk shit to his company, and they're like, okay. You know what I mean? Like he can literally tell Lockheed Martin to go fuck themselves. They're like, playing with these pansy kids, these salesmen with the question is this, and he's like, this is because we have whiners on the chat, and they'll be like, well, that's right. So
like an email away that's like an auto response when he's traveling or something.
Yeah,
it's like
just don't be a pansy.
Yeah, it's like totally dogging on millennials and the lazy world.
He's like, well, that's because you didn't get up early enough this morning.
And like he's 1% in his field. He's also like 1% in the realm that we're familiar in, which is like physical fitness.
Oh yeah, that dude is like he's known as the machine here. Yeah, like he is built like a fucking piece of iron.
Yeah,
like one of the toughest, just roughest motherfuckers I've ever met.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's insane. I love it.
He's like, so you want to work out today? I'm like, all right, yeah. He's like, okay, we're gonna do leg lifts, hanging leg lifts. We're gonna do 500 and then we'll warm up.
I'm like, I saw Ben every morning for years, bro. I was like, I'm staying away from working out.
Yeah, I appreciate it when he's like, do you think we could do like a back workout? Like you can show me some stuff. I was like, okay, like all right.
And that's another. So that's probably part of the reason why he's so head and shoulders the way above everybody else. It's like, yes, he's super accomplished. Yes, he's in super good shape. He also looks to other people for their expertise.
He's very discerning and assertive with everything, but he's not too proud to ask for information.
Right.
Yeah, especially if it's outside his expertise or level of expertise or realm. Right. And I think that's I always admire that about Ben. I feel like anyone who's successful, that should be something like, I don't know everything. Like I asked like Miguel, like for what he does, like he's here for a reason. I'm not an expert. You know what I mean?
No idea what I'm doing.
He's amazing at what he does. You know?
Yeah, he is.
And like all that, like our content from like it's almost exactly a year ago when we first started the YouTube and everything. From then to now, like, God, it looks like 80s cartoons. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like, wow, what were we doing?
Dude, they had some good cartoons back then.
They really did. They really did. Very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, I think that's an important thing with anyone. And so getting to that, like, yeah, I appreciate you being here today with our podcast and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
And so I'm glad that people can get to know a little bit about who you are, like like how you found us too, and then like what you do and what you're better at, and like things like that. And I know today, segueing slightly back to that conversation, because I know there's like so many directions. The one thing that we became friends with immediately, I think attracted you probably to the Warehouse, was like, you met me and you're like, I like this guy.
Yeah, that happened.
So
right off the bat.
this guy built this, and he's building, what is that over there? Oh, there's a pile of guns. Like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no bullshit, like, yeah, you might want to call me conservative, I don't care. Like,
I mean, like the conservative label's so like dead now. Like
Yeah.
when I think of that, I think of like sweaty boomers.
Yeah.
Talking about Reagan and stuff.
yeah,
but,
like they're white collars.
yeah, but with you, like I saw somebody who was an individual who was not letting the world dictate what they did.
Or think, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about you, is like recognizing somebody who has critical thinking capability.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, so you're not a drone. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, hi, welcome.
We're in here. Yeah.
Did we just become best friends?
I was like, I wanted to like, I didn't want to come on too strong with it because like it was a very sensitive.
Oh yeah,
time.
COVID was a very touchy time.
Oh,
to like
God.
even say hi to people.
It is so weird. So like even my best friends and clients who are like were super into it are super into it. Like they know that about me. Like,
Yeah.
I was openly critiquing it the whole time. I was openly critiquing it until it became cool to critique it, and then I was like, all right, I'm back to lifting weights. Yeah, you guys have fun with that. You look like D-Duck, but anyways.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows that about me. One of my favorite things about that moment in time, though, was the instant connection you had with people.
Right.
Also,
Like-minded.
yes, because you could, like, I'd see you.
I found you.
Yeah, like, and we'd see each other in the elevator because that guy doesn't have a mask on. So I was like, oh, it's like, what's up, dude? How are you doing? It's like,
Hey,
we're
we're
best
human.
yeah. Like, hey, we're best friends. But I think I take credit for because I live downtown. I live in one of those big buildings with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I take credit for single-handedly changing the mask culture in my building. Because all over the building there was like signs like you need to wear a mask. I was like, I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You don't wear a mask in my building, dude. Like, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
And then like not but a couple like months later, like people that I'd see all the time are like no longer wearing masks and stuff. I'm just like, all right, let's go.
Example, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna be real with you right now. If you're wearing a mask and we're in this elevator and you can still smell my farts, it's not saving you from
I would just be like, so like I get some people.
It's logic.
I'd be like, you don't even have to wear that, right? Like, you're good, right? You know that, right?
Are you sick?
I'm like, are you sick right now or something? Exactly. That's exactly what I did, yeah.
And if you're sick, please keep it on. Also, get the fuck out of here. It's like, that's like when we were like fucking like 8 years old in kindergarten or second grade, it's just like, hey, you're sick, go home. Like, you know what I mean?
But like, I love that happened because that totally like it shook me out of my shell.
Yeah.
It shook me out of what was just so normal for me and like totally pulled the wool on how corrupt everything really is. Cause like I'd always been like a pseudo conspiracy theorist and like I'd like to troll people with conspiracy theories so I had knowledge of them. But man, like seeing how all that worked in tandem across the world, like I didn't know how fucking bad it was.
It's real bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah. No, I think this has been, for like Democrats and some of the parties in control and things like that, like they say the ruling elite, it's been a great eye-opener for the world as well as the American public because it's so thrown in our faces now with how they don't even try to hide it that we have no idea that like, how did it get so bad? You know, we got transgender shooting up Christian schools.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it got bad because it's been happening and these kids have been being abused and groomed by society failings on, the political side of everyone trying to create all this insanity in society for like 30 to 40 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's about the tag on when the subversion began. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just been like, oh, this is when we decided that like control needed to be happening more, and a lot of people don't realize that. But now it's so plain as day that at least people are waking up to it and starting to be like, yeah, this is too far.
Yeah.
We've gone too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like France is like, we have firefighters beating up cops in Paris, France right now because of the regime change and everything they're trying to pull over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully they're successful with their little rebellion over
the French. Like, I know Americans like to beat up on the French because of World War II or whatever, but the French have a very long history of overthrowing corrupt dictators and overthrowing kings.
Monarchs, yeah.
Monarchs. Yeah. Like the era of enlightenment, which is so much of our democracy came from.
Yeah, huge movements from the French culture with the Renaissance, things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
A lot of people kind of forget.
Yeah.
There's some really, really awesome museums over there for good reason.
Yeah.
But like things like that, I think it's been COVID. I feel like broke a lot of people and made a lot of people.
Yeah.
As far as like the cultural, like as humans, I feel like the biggest thing is like the whole like you are not what you do. All those things. I'm like, no, Winston Churchill, a man is a culmination of his actions. This is what he does, right?
Yeah.
That guy was pretty smart. I think that's why he got his sir in front of his name.
Yeah.
But and what it is that you are essentially a product of your own decisions and actions. And I think as humans, we inherently cannot help the fact that we react to things. That's the human condition. Mm-hmm. So if something happens, whether it's external or internal, your mind reacts, right? And so based on those reactions, people are either going to fight or flight. Mm-hmm. So you either fight or you run, you know what I mean, or hide, whatnot. A lot of people, depending on like your strength, where you come from, epidemiology, who knows? Either folded or followed along, and then the rest of us were like, fuck this. Like, I fight, this is not what's going on, this is bullshit, there's too much here, it's a grab of power, all that thing. I think a lot of people like you and I were like, kind of brought to where it's like, wow, like, I'm a combat veteran. I was like, okay, yeah, America, patriotic, I believe in the whole system and everything. And now it's like, wow, this is actually a lot worse than I thought it was going to be.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't even recognize this fucking country.
Dude, it's so crazy. So what I didn't know before COVID, which I know now, is that the 90 or 95% of media outlets are owned by 6 global conglomerate corporations.
Yeah, controlled by 2 people.
Exactly. And they're all incestuous across all industries. So every major industry, they have key players all over. Like, why is the CEO of Pfizer sitting on the board of Reuters?
FDA.
Yeah. Why are they like interchanging positions like that? But Reuters is the major it's considered one of the 2 reliable news outlets along with the Associated Press, and it's like, dude, these guys are like they're the co-signed propaganda machines of the day.
Well, the same thing. It's all bought and paid for. Just like I can't remember his name specifically, and I can reference this. We can actually pull it up for this podcast. But the VP of Pfizer actually became the Attorney General for the FDA. That she was, and they're like, wait, you don't see any conflict of interest here? And at the time, holding chair for the FDA, it was brought to light that he still is a like massive shareholder of Pfizer. It's just like, so whether the vaccine was ill intent or not, the fact that there was a massive amount of incentive to put out any kind of product, no matter the effects, as fast as possible for as much money as possible, and then the government could like wage and leverage to force it, so that only even if they had no ill intent of what mRNA or mRNA, am I saying that?
Sure.
The protein, the key protein signature that they use for essentially the genetic manipulation of the vaccine, mRNA, I think. And anyway, even with the effects of that, whether they had, say, no intent, the fact that just because it was incentivized by money. Like, just like, we could force it, and you could become billionaires, almost trillionaires overnight, over the course of 2 years, by just forcing it, but who gives a fuck what happens? It looks good on paper. Sweet. Shoot it. Like, that was literally the entire scam.
Oh, and you bring up the fact that there's these incestuous players and all that, all of a sudden you're a conspiracy nut. Like, it's like XYZ. It's like, okay, now all of a sudden you want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Like, when George Bush is saying that there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and we're sending our boys over there.
And then once I was there, we didn't find shit.
Exactly. There's nothing. But now you want to believe him. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was over there. I was on one of the first mobilized deployments.
So you were one of the first tours over?
I was one of the first people to hit the ground.
In Iraq?
Yeah.
And it was hot.
In Fallujah, Iraq.
It was extremely hot.
It was really bad. Bad enough to get my face blown off.
Yeah, people don't like understand how hot of a time.
Yeah, because we were essentially invading the country.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was not. It was evil as shit. But like, the funny thing is that there were no weapons of mass destruction. There was no giant piles of gold. You know what there was? There was massive Afghan fields of poppies that grow out there that a lot of people don't know. Almost all of the oxycodone supply of opiates come from Afghanistan. There were massive unclaimed territories of oil preserves from Syria to Yemen. A lot of people that weren't aware of that. 2001 was not about war on terror. It was about the largest illegal land grab in fucking history.
I mean,
that's my conspiracy. But then again, look at Dubai now.
Right?
What was Dubai 23 years ago?
Yeah, right. Nothing. There wasn't even islands out there.
Yeah.
But no, I'm kind of aware of that. I may be pretty aware of that. I think what's really interesting about what happened there is like that's a territory that had to be held by Western powers to keep it from virtually like imploding on itself and moving over to that one nation that we're not going to talk about ever.
Yeah, of course. And so there's always and that's one thing. And that was why when I was a soldier, and obviously, very patriotic, I still am for the country.
Still am.
And things like that. I always will be. I believe in the institution of America, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, what it stands for. But at the end of the day, I've also, done enough spec work and things like that, and enough contracting after the fact to thus say that I cannot say that what we did was for the greater good or not. But when things look like they're really bad, it's usually for a good reason.
Yeah.
And that is really shitty. A good example is
Well, before you get into that,
yeah, okay.
It's really big of you to be able to talk about that. Because I know a lot of vets that can't see it from that realistic perspective.
And I think that was always, from a young age, I joined, mind you, I joined the military when I was 16 years old. And I was first mobilized by 2 months before I was 18.
Okay.
And so I was in the shit from since I was a fucking kid and until 2008. And hard. And then I did 2 years reserve exit, and then I was a contractor for almost 10 years. Independent through the Pentagon directly. I never joined any sort of bullshit contracting company. That shit's terrible. Yeah, no, they're absolute garbage. Unless you want to be a bullshit warlord fucking security detail. Mostly worked with hunting down large level human trafficking, war crimes type stuff. You know what I mean? Things like that. But starting to be able to see intelligence and information from the big picture standpoint. I can say for a fact, a good way to put it is I can't say it is or it isn't, but one way to look at it is do you ever see the Watchmen movie?
Is that the super?
It is the superhero movie. It was a graphic novel that they turned into a film.
Yes, with Rorschach.
Yeah, Rorschach, and then Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
So in that movie, towards the ending, Dr. Manhattan essentially stages a weapon of mass destruction attack on New York City in the movie. And essentially an explosion that left a massive crater near ground zero, as before. And what they did is that they blamed it on so-and-so. But it brought the world together in a organized fashion for the greater good. Mm-hmm. So versus like going into disarray of what could become like the next World War, there was a tragedy that thus pulled everyone together. And it seems simplistic, but in the movie it's very well depicted, and it's very sad to think that that's actually things that people play out.
Well, you know, if you go far into the conspiracy rabbit holes, like there is one that Hollywood and the movies and entertainment, they are disclosing essentially what they're doing in the real world.
Yeah.
And so like
they're telling stories because they can't be creative.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like, well, they're disclosing it, and then, you know, for whatever reason, you can get into the reasons why and all that. Like, it gets really weird, but there's a lot of stories like that line up with a lot of events that have happened.
Yeah.
And like, they're in movies before it fucking happens.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, is it the movie that's creative, and then really shitty politicians calling shots are just, you know, copycatting, or is it actually just like, oh, that's a good idea? You know what I mean? Like, look at the movie Contagion, that was in 2009.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, we have COVID, and it's literally like verbatim use media. It almost looked like the absolute script being played out.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. And so that's just ridiculous. But anyway, all this stuff put aside, on a healthier note, if you don't mind, we were having a much, nice, much better conversation when we were just talking, the two of us outside right now, about like waking up early and all that.
Yeah, edit this to the front.
Yeah. Maybe we get into the heavy shit later. But no, like, so we were talking about like the machines and stuff, how I was running around all day, and I watched, I want to say it's Tom Bailey, the Impact Theory, you know, podcast. Anyway,
I don't watch anybody anymore. I just work out, sell houses, help people,
and that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was just watching, and it said stop waking up at 6 a.m. and he's just talking about how some days he's getting up at 3:30, and it was really funny because I actually started doing this on my own, and I've been noticing a lot of this, like as I'm progressing throughout my own life and path, becoming, I guess what would you say, maybe more successful in what I'm doing, to the points where like I believe I'm just exercising the resources that I now have, and so thus keeping to propel myself forward, outward in every direction. And so with that, I started waking up earlier because I just don't sleep a lot. And before it was because of my back and like those things I was dealing with, to where now I'm just like, all right, I'm awake, I'm just gonna do something. So now I'm going to bed, you know, reasonable time, whether it's between 9 or midnight, and then whenever I wake up, I just get the fuck out of bed.
Just wake up.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm not going to try, and I've noticed that if I try to go back to bed, I hit snooze, or I want to keep laying down next to Mel or something like that, and I feel worse, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, so I start hearing these things, and then a podcast lately comes out about it. And he's like, oh yeah, like, if you stop doing that, you'll stop feeling like you're starting your day on your back foot. You know, like, you're constantly having to fight uphill and all those things. I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. And I've just tried it, and I've actually, like I was telling you, like, my body's been responding well. I feel more consistent energy. It's actually really funny, Miguel brought me this, because I was like just telling you too. I'm like, like I went from like you used to see me like working all day.
I'm like, you'd have bangs, bro.
Just like 4 energy drinks, just killing myself. And now like it's hard for me to like get through one. I just set them down.
And so let me get this straight. You are starting to feel better on less sleep.
Yeah.
Essentially. And you don't feel the need for caffeine.
Right.
But our entire lives we've been told, at least 8 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, turns out that's a fucking lie.
Amazing.
Like, what else?
Well, I mean, you know, that's no different than the food pyramid being absolutely
right.
You need to have the biggest block needs to be all bread and pasta.
Yeah.
And then just a little bit of protein at the top. But all bread and pasta.
Hey, stay away from eggs. Those are gonna fucking kill you, dude.
Yeah.
You cap that at 3 a week.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. No, I know what you're saying, and like my thought with the wake up time is like I don't set an alarm. So
yeah, and that's what I was saying too. Like I don't have one. I don't wake up from an alarm. I feel like it's almost disruptive.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have that thing from like you're programmed as a kid. The alarm goes off. Oh fuck, I gotta go to school. You know, like, and it's just like, and then that carries into alarm goes off. Oh fuck, I have to go to work.
Well, you have an iPhone, right? The alarms on those are miserable.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no matter how low you put it, that thing just like shot you. Like,
I'm pretty sure I've gotten to my feet in a split second with my gun in my hand.
dude, it's like, I think they do that intentionally so you wake up and you're like, it's like a flashbang going off.
Yeah, like, it's so obnoxious. It's unbelievable.
Like the thing with the wake up time is like, dude, get up early, go handle some shit, and like, dude, if you're tired later in the day, like you're gonna fall asleep. Like I was saying, exhaustion is the best pillow.
100%. Yeah.
And you're probably not gonna be tired, but if you are tired, no one's gonna know you're tired unless you fucking tell them.
Yeah.
So are you gonna be the one to volunteer your feelings onto the person that you're talking to? Like, are you gonna just start fucking complaining? Like, is that what you're gonna do? And I've noticed this, like if I'm overslept, I call it overslept now, like I am so distractible. But if I have that edge of tired, like if I just have like a little edge of tired on me, like I can focus.
Right.
And nobody fucking knows I have an edge of tired unless I say something. And I can go as long as I need to, and like it's just one night I'm gonna crash out early, I'll be good.
Yeah, it's a mental game. Like,
Yeah.
I have that. Like some of my days, I do a lot of physical stuff. Like you said, I make tangible things and all that. Like so, like a good example, we did an emergency sewer line repair on Tuesday, and so I'm over here building a machine or running errands, getting guys on job sites, checking on things, running around town. Next day, I'm digging a 30-foot trench 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, what did you do today? Dug a trench. Big old fucking, like 5 feet high with a pile of dirt, and then filled it back in. And like, we tried to do it, because it was like up in Bankers Hill, or like a really, like kind of like reputable area where there's a lot of like high-end homes, and people that like call neighbors or bitch about, sound or
So yeah, you got it, boom, boom, boom.
and we were tying into the street, like right there on the sidewalk. So so you're not supposed to disrupt the sidewalk without pulling a right-of-way permit, and it's like $5,700 and all this. But at the same time, the tie-in is on our land, the property on this side, so I didn't have to. But we piled dirt right there. And I'm like, well, let's just do this as fast as we can.
Right. Fuck your permits.
And I'm just like, yeah, fuck you. This is my land. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we just like
the tie-ins on my side.
We're just like, and like two different companies wanted $21,000. Another one wanted like $19,000. So I'm like, okay, I'll charge $16,000, and we did it in 4 hours. I'm like, yeah, okay, so every now and then I'll go out and make 16 G's in 4 hours. You know what I mean? Yes, it's fucking hard. Did I go to sleep early? Probably.
Dude, yeah, that's hard. And I just want to, because there's an audience, yes, you made 16 G's in 4 hours, but there was 20 years of working and learning.
Oh yeah, that obviously goes without saying.
And between you and I, it goes without
saying.
saying.
Yeah, I guess, you're right, because of the podcast. This is the reason why I can do that. Because I have multi-million-dollar clients that trust me because I've 3x their homes with design. I've created products that have won awards. I've been doing it, and I have literally parts that I've designed and welded that are in space on the Merlin D rocket engine. Mm-hmm. And I have that reputation. Also, I have 4 to 5 years of business licensing and insurance and multi-million dollars of general liability, and people can trust me.
And you save the consumer thousands of dollars.
Yeah, $5K off top.
Right there.
And then knowing that, could a crew get in there and actually complete a clean trench, excavate the yard, and there was brick pavers, so we got rid of them, put gravel right back, and it literally, I have photos, it literally looks clean, like we were never there by 2 p.m.
I'm dying right now, because I see like people get hit with that kind of project because of a backed up sewer line, and it's like a family member passed away because this is such a traumatic experience, and then you just come in and fucking do it.
Yeah. They're just like, and they're like, it's a sewer pipe. Oh my God. I'm like, it's fucking done. No, we don't care.
The bricks are back, guys.
You're like, and I send a picture, we're like rinsed off the sidewalk. I'm like, it's like we're never there. But he's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah. Even the guys from like it's RSC or ARS, the Rescue Roofer Company, the big plumbing company in California. I think they're national, and the guy was like, that was a hell of a job. It's like, 2 yoked out dudes just ran down the fucking, took some shovels and just ran at it for a while. But like, you know, that's a good example in like getting things done. And like, you know, we did a structural job that took us maybe 12 hours, like a day and a half over here. And like, it's a mobile welding job. So.
I just want to pause you, like a structural job is usually like weeks.
Oh, 100%. Okay, yeah, let me, I apologize. So for some context, the Chicano Music Festival, Sasha, who I was just talking about, who's a good friend, and then, you know, the owner of this, all these properties has that large event space where these container units are down the street over here on 30th.
Yeah.
And the salt factory building, the old brick building right there that has the big kind of carport canopy behind it, used to be like SDG&E's old dispatch back like 80 years ago. So that's an original roof. It's like 100 years old. And it was falling. And so because the actual like massive wood trusses and everything were failing and rotted away with all the strapping and everything, and it was actually falling. And they're like, hey, we have a festival in 2 weeks. Could you help? Like, can we like brace this somehow? Like, we know that you can do this. Like, and that's what when people have a problem that like usually no one else can handle, that's when they call me. That's another reason why like I charge what I charge. Like when I show up, it's not like, can you do it? It's like, when can you do it?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, well, this is what we'll do. And we installed 4 massive 6x6 posts. We even lifted the roof. We jacked it up. Believe it or not, using like a 2-ton like that.
No, I absolutely believe it. It's just, I know like in conventional construction, like people are dragging their feet around this project and milking it for at least 3 weeks.
Oh yeah,
described to me as at least 3 weeks.
He would have been in permitting. They would have had to get structural engineering involved, and then it would probably bring in a crane, probably a massive disassembly of the entire structure. Whether anyone would even have agreed to have done it because of the liability, without the creativity of what it is I do. And so, like, because I have cross-trade and engineering experience.
Because you're not compartmentalized. You're the fucking man. So you can come in and just your brain. I've seen your brain do it before.
Yeah.
It just runs through like a million scenarios, finds a solution. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I know it's gonna work because I've done it before here and here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like there. They have like an estimator come out and look at it like, oh wow.
I don't even know what this is.
Then they send it to some guy who's trying to bid it out with pictures and stuff. And
yeah, and then they're like, we need a structural engineer, and he's like, oh, you have to tear it down. It's like, oh, okay.
I'm not putting a stamp on that.
Yeah, that was exactly it. Like, same thing when I showed up to the Hawthorne campus at SpaceX, and they were like trying to come up with like, they were thinking they had to like completely rebuild essentially this like not a wastegate, but like a pressure shutoff valve. You know, so a one-way valve for a pressure line that was essentially wrapping some high compression fuel and relief on the tube, and they thought they'd have to like completely reforge. And I'm like, well, if you just cut the side off and just titanium and just weld this cap on it with an elbow, like you literally just tie in. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, just fucking cut it open. I stood there and like I was like in like an interview process. They like brought me in and, you know, walking me around. I didn't get to meet Elon Musk or anything, but because this was a few years ago. And like the engineers, like you're talking about like aerospace, like some of the highest level engineers in like the space exploration field, like an engineering, mechanical, like people from JPL, like an ideal job that I would have like been like head over heels to try to work to or get to if I like stayed in school to like have this like type of position. Were like looking at me like I was insane, and then some old dude on the side was like, I think you could do it.
Wait, hold on. The bodybuilder just walked in and put us all in.
They're like, oh, you were in the military, right? I was like, yeah, I was a ranger for a little while. They're like, you're a welder, huh? And I'm like, yep. The guy's like, yeah, I'm a welder. Yep. Just like that too. I specialize in high pressure compartment chambers.
I mean, I don't know much or anything about engineering. I just imagine being bogged down by equations and traditions and.
Oh yeah, like we gotta go over to let's go to the blackboard and write this out. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Hey, you guys had fun with that. We just fixed it.
Hey, hand me the sawzall.
Yeah.
That's a $13 million component. Be like, I'll try not to drop it.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking weld that thing in half.
Yeah, it was super funny. Yeah, it worked. It was great. It would probably save, God knows, 6 months and $3 million. And yeah, I didn't get paid that much, so we're clear.
Yeah, it's all right.
I was like, here we go. You can do it. Yeah, they're just like, you can't weld titanium on the surface like that. You have to be in a controlled environment. I'm like, you want to watch? And I'm like, if I can do it, you owe me $100,000. They didn't agree to that, but it was really close.
So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they agree to that? Because they know they're full of shit.
And then that's when I learned a valuable lesson about negotiating your worth and understanding what you can do versus what can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
And either I can do it for you, or I can't. So anytime now I get like that's one privilege I have with what I do. Like the hoist equipment, we had IRSHA show, the International Health and Fitness Industry Show here in town. We had a lot of visitors from Norway, Sweden, the manufacturing for hoist in Europe. They want to bring their engineers, and they asked me if I'd be interested in consulting for them. And so that's a pretty large paycheck on top of that. And so they're going to come and visit us next week. So,
oh, okay.
So they're building a prototype of a swing squat that they can't seem to figure out.
A swing squat.
Similar to the, I believe,
pendulum?
Yeah, kind of like a pendulum, but there's an actual model of a machine where you kind of sit in it. It's got two large rails on a stand, and it just swings down onto a platform. It's very one-sided, unlike mine. And so they're trying to develop their own, but they're having a hard time getting it right.
I imagine so. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough to reinvent the wheel over and over.
Yeah, it's really funny. And like, then when people see my machines, they're like, "What?" And like, I had Taylor Hobson from England on Rogers Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
It took me almost 30 years to get this right. He's like, "How did you like? What was the concept here behind the new howitzer?"
I love that thing.
And he literally stood in front of it. He's like, "This thing's amazing." He's like, "How long did it take you to come up with it?" I'm like, "About 8 hours." And he's just like, fucking turns him, like kicks the ground.
Soup to nuts. Yeah, I came up with it, finished it.
I had a dream, and like, I think I was drunk.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know, about 8 hours. And it's just like, what the fuck?
I don't know, man. It came to me in a dream. Next morning, I started working on it. Here we go.
Yeah, first I brushed my teeth, and then I just did it. It was crazy. But yeah, and so it was really neat. But a good example now, like where I was going with it, is that, getting to where you have a platform, like, like your reputation, your business platform, to where when I give people a price, there isn't any negotiating.
Right.
Let's either, do you want it done or not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like unfair, and I don't believe, I believe in good business and ethics, so I don't gouge people. Like, there's a couple that just asked me, they were referred to me by 2 separate companies in this county, and they shot me a call and asked me if I'd do this like custom stainless steel handrail for them for their ADU. It's about 51 feet. They wanted like a nice S-curve. It'd be a good portfolio job for fun. And I told them about $16,000 for about 50 feet of handrail. And they were like, oh, well. And then there are 2 retired ladies, or a couple, super sweet, very nice. And they asked me because they told me what their budget was. They also showed me like they're very transparent, and they just asked like if they would have to wait a month or like a couple months to do it and save because they already had paid for solar. Mm-hmm. For the property. And I'm like, okay. Or if I can help them, and they even offered like, could we just use a cheaper material? And then like, even if it was just $2,000 less. And I so in that case, they were very like, these are community people.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do this. Let me think about it. And then this morning, I sent them a thing of about $2,400 off. And I told them it'll be a great portfolio job, and I would love to have you have it. And she was like, we didn't want anyone else to do it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like they didn't ask, they were just wanting to know if they could fit it into their budget. And they were super transparent, like, this is what we got. I'm like, It'll be that plus $100.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I agree, like when there's in negotiations, when you're pricing your services out, it's like, if you're willing to come off your price like if I'm dealing with someone and they come off their price right off the get, like, does this person value what they do?
Exactly.
Like,
or my favorite is when they ask if it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like what do you mean is it okay?
What do you mean is it okay? Is there a cheaper way to do it? like what, like, and like, because I'll get contractors that'll like send me prices for like stucco and drywall and paint, things like that, trades that I don't really mess with, because I just don't give a shit. I have time.
If I walked in on you painting, I'm like, what are you doing?
Unless it's like a massive gun scaffold in the entire room and like the same day. It's like the gym has been painted. Like, you're done. You're welcome. And yeah, stuff like that. So it's just like whatever. But like I remember a guy like gave me a price. He's like, is that okay? And I'm like, what if it's not?
That's a great response.
Yeah, and I'm like, and so it's like, you know, like I hope that you will do a good job. I want to pay for good work. So there's a difference to like that whole thing. You know, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're like you said, like when they like are willing to come off, it's like, do you know what you're doing? You're worth? Like it's concerning.
Yeah.
You know, like when somebody tells me I can do it for this price, and that's the price.
You gave me a new term which I really like and I'm going to use probably in the near future. It'd make a great portfolio
Project.
It'd be a great portfolio project for me.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's 3 types of work. There is commission work, so there's work for for an invoice. There is trade work, right? So trading a service plus compensation, to help get what you need that someone else has. All right, and then there's portfolio work. Portfolio work is something that you will either leverage at cost because it will help you benefit your platform, brand, business model, like things like that. So say I'm going to start building handrails, like high-end handrails. I'm going to go to some high-end customers and I'm going to find somebody that will let me build them a handrail for free, or at least offer it to them if they just cover the metal, and they'll be like, shoot it. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. I can always tear it out.
No, I can think about that like getting into like an exclusive neighborhood, right?
Yeah, like I could go into La Jolla, like the Shores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then guess what? I'm in La Jolla Shores. I took my own time.
Right.
They bought the metal, so I'm out just time and fuel. Okay, maybe some consumables, and I build a handrail worth $30,000 in like 5 days. And then I take photos of it and I blow it up all over social media for free.
Yeah.
I take it everywhere. They're in love with it, and they tell all their friends and neighbors. So I seek out people who I know are prolific, and then I find and see what we can do. Good example, we did that front of Mission Brewing downtown. Now we're building out their Kensington Tap Room.
Nice.
Job went from a $21,000 front of house to now a $130,000 build out.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And they're like, we don't want to do any work with anyone else. I'm like, cool.
All right. Well, you're never gonna.
Yeah, I'm like, sweet. I'll put it on my schedule for when I'm back from San Antonio. Yeah, I'll do what I can.
No, I love that term. Like I've thought about it. I've thought about the theoretical end of it. Like, oh yeah, like I'll give this person, like I'll do a deal for this person, but because I can get into this neighborhood, and they'll give me an opportunity to like meet all the neighbors and establish myself here. But portfolio, I like that.
Yeah, it's when it comes to like say services or products, it's a great way to look at that. Even in information and stuff like that, if you can essentially get like clients, like you're saying, like clients, or even in like the fitness industry, like offer to take someone on as like a protege or an assistant, or all that, and then train them and then use them as your portfolio. They have social media following, their transformation and things like that.
I've done that in fitness, and it never fucking works out.
Interesting. Why?
Without exception, if somebody isn't committing with money, they're not committing at all.
Okay. So how did the transactional situation when you approach them with the idea?
I've never approached. I've been approached and had somebody say like, "Oh, I can't afford my," because like really it's a passion project of mine. I just want to help people. Like, okay, cool, dude. It's not about the money, but don't fucking tell anybody. I'll slide you in. I got your back. No results. Fucking gone. Or dude, that comes down even if I give somebody a discount.
Okay.
Like if I give somebody a discount, their ass isn't going to do it. They're not going to value it. They're going to be out of the program faster than anybody. But if somebody's like willing to pay, even if that means they have to make like a little sacrifice on their venti frappuccino or whatever, they're going to do the work. And so I haven't been successful with fitness portfolio work. I'm sure that there has been somebody, but I've noticed that people that aren't willing to commit and put out for it, they're not going to get the results. So I don't even bother with it.
And you said you've had people approach you about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that there is a way to be successful at almost any situation. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I believe that I'm a person like I can make anything work.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how I would have approached it if I knew.
Please.
If somebody approaches me, they're asking for my time. They're asking for my attention. In this point in my life, there's nothing more fucking valuable than my time.
Right.
And there's nothing that pisses me off more than when people waste it.
Yeah.
So you want something for free. Okay, what are you going to give me? So you have to be very transactional. So you're going to make a trade.
Yeah.
So you make a trade.
What are you going to give me?
So you're going to commit to something. I'm like, what do you got? I'm like, you want something for free? What the fuck you got? I'm like, let me see the title of your car.
Open your pockets, bro.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you don't want to pay for it? Okay, well then I'm going to do this for you, and you're going to sign over the title of your car. You know what I mean? And then like, if you're successful, you're going to use absolutely every avenue to promote it for me. Because one, I'm doing you a service. You're going to change your life because I guarantee it. Or you want to, and it's just an agreement. It's an agreement or a contract. It's all very transactional. It should always be. Like, does that make sense?
Dude, next time someone approaches me, I'm like, yeah, bro, I got you. Just sign your car over to me.
I'm just using it as an example because, like, I would do things in like large numbers, like say.
No, you think I'm fucking kidding? I'm dead serious.
Do it. You should.
I've done it. If you fail, I'm going to keep the car title. You can still drive it or whatever, but it's mine.
Yeah.
If you succeed, I'm going to give it back to you.
100%. But then they're not out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then guess what? They're either committed or you're not wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Dude, I will literally, I will take a car registration or car title.
Yeah,
and
weigh out the value. Like say they have their homeowners and you know them, their friends and stuff, maybe they have a nice chainsaw or a fucking motorcycle or a barbecue or like whatever, you know what I mean? Bring it to my house.
Dude, here's the thing about that is if I'm in that situation where I didn't have the excess funds, I needed to change this, I could see how it's going to benefit me, and someone said, yeah, dude, I'll do that, let me hold your watch. And if you pull it off, then I'll give you your watch back. I would take that deal because I know I'm going to pull it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what the downside is, they don't believe in themselves, they're not genuine, and then you don't waste your own time.
We're not wasting our time, and now they have an opportunity to look at why they're not willing to bet on themselves.
So one, it's a lesson for them, and you lose nothing.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
Everything's transactional.
Hey man, good. I got a lot of value out of this. I really appreciate you spending some time.
Yeah. No, always, man. Anytime, I'm glad you came out.
Yeah.
I know it's been a little while. We should probably get on with the rest of our day, but
Yeah, we got life to go live. You're gonna go crush some stuff and go crush
I
some
really
stuff.
have a bunch of shit to do.
Oh, I know. Dude, it's always like that. Like whenever I see you, you're in the middle of a bunch of shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy a ticket to San Antonio for yesterday.